that Trump just conditioned America for war with Iran at the State of the Union?
One thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen.
But among other things, he claimed that Iran is actively building missiles that could reach the United States. And while he didn't provide evidence, satellite images do appear to show that Iran's resumed work at nuclear sites that the U.S. bombed last year. And all of this is you have the U.S. and Iran scheduled to meet tomorrow for another round of talks, but also this is the U.S. just ordered non-essential staff to evacuate the embassy in Lebanon. Or the two sides, they're not even negotiating the same thing. You've got Iran saying they'll only discuss their nuclear program, and the U.S. wants that, plus the elimination of Iran's ballistic missile program. And all the while, Iran has said that if attacked, every U.S. base in the Middle East is fair game, putting tens of thousands of American service members in danger. Well, you've got Trump publicly saying that he wants a deal. When you have a president telling the nation he'll never allow something, it doesn't really sound like he's describing a negotiation. He's building a case for what comes next. Did you notice that Trump just conditioned America for war with Iran?
They've killed at least, it looks like, 32,000 protests. 32,000 protesters in their own country. They shot them and hung them. We stopped them from hanging a lot of them with the threat of serious violence. But this is some terrible people. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue, starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start all over again, and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen.
Has gathered pace in recent days. Attack aircraft, stealth bombers, helicopters, air defense systems, refueling jets, and a naval armada of nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, including the addition of the USS Gerald R. Ford, seen here off Gibraltar, on its way to the Middle East. Tehran continuing to back diplomacy, while at the same time preparing for conflict.
The only solution is diplomacy. This is why the U.S. is back in the table of negotiation and is seeking a deal. And we are prepared for that. We are prepared for, war, and we are prepared for peace. We are prepared for diplomacy, and we are prepared for negotiation as much as we are prepared for war.
Donald Trump had early indicated an attack on Iran would be far worse than the limited strikes launched by the U.S. in June against its nuclear facilities, the fallout of which could destabilize the entire region.
I think that there's growing concern within the Gulf region and also within Tehran that this escalation is going to lead to something much more sustained or longer term. Whether it's full-scale regime change, unknown, but something longer term.
The military build-up in the region also on the radar of the United Nations.
I can tell you and reiterate yet again that we are very concerned about the heightened rhetoric we're seeing around the region, and we encourage both the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran to continue to engage in diplomacy.
All right, first and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Bakaha Kudash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS who I learned from. Shalom to the hopeful elect, preaching his word in truth and in sincerity. To you rips, to you sisters out there learning in silence and staying in order, I say to you all, Shalom. Right, here we are, man. More war drums. The people who I would say are considered quote-unquote woke, as they call it, people who watching, have known about the interest in Iran, right, and destabilizing that country, right, for a long time, since 2020, since the early 2020s and before, since the Bushes.
Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Mosque, gonna throw some rocks. Tell the Ayatollah gonna put you in a box. Country's got a feeling, really it's the ceiling.
Right. So since the 80s, the Beach Boys, you heard it, man. Like, you know, the funny thing about that was I knew that song, back when I was like 7 years old, and I heard it in like a kids movie. It was like, I don't know, was it the Three Ninjas or something like that, something stupid like that. And like I never understood what the hell that song was saying until I got older. Yeah, so it was Surf Ninjas. Anyways, you saw Trump just tweeted that song. So it's getting real serious. This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See thee that ye not be troubled, for all things must come to pass, but the end is not yet, right? So we got all these war drums going off, and people screaming the end of the world, things of that nature. But there's a few prophecies that need to be implemented. One of them being the famine of the word, 2, Jacob's trouble, 3, the MARK, right? No particular order. Those are the three off the top of my head. And then ultimately the destruction of Babylon, aka America. Yeah, man, this is the hammer of the earth, man, and eventually, the nations are gonna get sick of it. The nations are gonna get sick of it, and they're not gonna have it no more. This is Isaiah 63. I'm gonna start at verse 3. I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me, for I will tread them in my anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garment, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of the vengeance is in my hand, and the year of my redeem is come. Right, so the Lord's gonna redeem the 144,000 plus the 1/3 of the elect of Israel, right? In this time of Jacob's trouble, right? When Babylon finally, gets what is coming to him, salvation for Israel. And that's what we're waiting for. That's why it says, the end is not yet. This war is gonna happen, things of that nature, but this is the actual end, right? When the Lord redeems his people and executes vengeance on the people. And the Lord does that, not when the people do it, but when the Lord does it himself. Verse 5, and I looked, and there was none to help, and I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore my own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury it upheld me. And I will tread down the people in my anger, and make them drunk in my fury, and I will bring down their strength to the earth. Right? Call hello Yahweh Bashim Yahushua for that. Right? This is what we all patiently waiting for. Right? Lord willing, it comes quick, right? Because scriptures say, that the Lord's going to shorten the days for the elect's sake. In fact, let me get that. This is Matthew 24:22. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened, right? So Lord willing, we will see the end real soon, right? And for those that say, you know, that they want the Lord to come, which that's what the spirit you should be in. But, you know, if that's what you want, you got to make sure your spirit is right, right? Because if it's not right, what end is it to you, right? What's that going to look like for you? If your spirit ain't right and you're doing all these wicked things and, you know, you're waiting on the Lord to come and you're not doing anything to get yourself right, prepare yourself for the marriage, you know, what end is it for you? Amos chapter 5:18. Woe unto you that desire the day of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. To what end is it for you? The day of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is darkness and not light. So it's going to be a lot of sorrow, man. What end is it going to... Have you examined yourself to see, you know, whether you're in the faith, and to see if you're living right by the eyes of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, to want him to come back? Because he's just going to come back and destroy everything. You know, that's why examination is key, right? But anyways, I pray this lesson was edifying. I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS who I learned from. Shalom to the whole elect, preaching his word in truth and in sincerity. To you ribs, to you sisters out there learning in silence and staying in order, I say to you all, Shalom.